Hello, welcome again to another episode. I'll be presenting tonight, so if you want to tune out, I understand. But it's a good one. I expect Laura to be outraged and make a lot of comments, and
good.
This she'll probably go on for longer than it needs to.
Wearing my nasty woman shirt.
She's wearing her nasty woman shirt, which is good, because this is all about women tonight, and good decisions and bad decisions, and everything in between. So, you know how there's like a porn for everything? If you Google porn plus...
Fun game.
Yeah. Well, you can do that with murder, too, and that's how I came upon this one.
Oh, I've been doing that, too. Yeah.
So I did like...
so what did you Google?
Megachurch murder.
Oh, nice.
Or evangelical murder.
Nice. Was it after we went to that
It was,
thing at the megachurch?
Which was a surprisingly nice night.
It was an interesting experiment, and it was an interesting cultural experience, I'll say that.
It was. And so I'm going to kind of go back and forth in time in this one here, but ultimately this is only one body, not a serial killer. Had some press when it happened in 2010, but we're looking at the life and death of a man named Randy Stone, who was married to
Randy. Well, maybe not. He deserved it.
He deserved it.
I don't know.
I think in a lot of people
I'll
involved,
reserve judgment and see. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes people are sometimes a terrible person gets murdered.
It's true. He's not. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
no, not that kind of case.
No, he's
sad.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I feel like you're being awfully judgy of this poor man. This nasty woman shirt's gone right to your head.
No, that's not it at all. I just said, "Oh, how sad," and then I realized I didn't know anything about it. I don't know what kind of. Maybe it was like a Dexter type situation.
It's a Missouri type situation. They live in Missouri,
and Missouri.
Well, this is about two couples. So let's look at the first couple. We know Randy's going to die, so spoiler.
Ruined it.
Randy was a Marine. He came back in 1990 from his tour of duty. I think he managed to dodge all the major wars there, so a man after my own heart, avoided combat, and comes back and gets reacquainted with a girl he knew in high school named Teresa.
Okay.
And they get married in the early 90s. And that should have been it. He opened up an insurance office, sold insurance, they had 2 kids, went to church, and...
Sounds like a properly boring, nice Americana life.
Yep, and,
middle-class white couple in Missouri.
You assume they're white.
I'm assuming they're white because you said megachurch.
They actually...
insurance office. That was my other clue.
Yeah, well...
It just sounds like a white guy thing to do.
Only white people sell insurance?
No, it sounds like a white guy thing to do. He comes back from the Marines, he marries some girl from high school, opens an insurance office, and then go to a megachurch. Yes, that's the picture I have in my head. That's all I'm saying.
No megachurch. It's.
Oh, you said megachurch.
Well, I searched for megachurch.
Oh, okay.
To date, there have been no megachurch murders.
There haven't?
Although the daughter of the BTK killer does go to the megachurch we went to. So, let's make her life even worse by talking about her.
God, I feel so bad for her.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, go on.
So.
Was I right, though? They're white.
They're very white.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean...
Missouri was my other.
Yeah, I'm not sure black people live in Missouri. Maybe Kansas City.
I've never been to Missouri, so I don't know.
Definitely not a lot of Asians there. So, yeah. Well, I am just getting further and further in a hole here. So they get married, as people are wont to do, and they went to a lovely little Baptist church in Missouri, about 300 people, and Randy's mom went there as well, too. And he was very involved in everything.
Was it the church he grew up going to?
He may have, yeah, I think it was, actually.
I'm just wondering, since his mom went there.
Yeah, his mom went there, and, he was very tied to the community. He was involved in coaching.
Right.
Yeah, involved in coaching, close with people. I can totally picture this guy as an insurance guy.
Sounds like a good guy.
We'll put some pictures of him on there, but he looks like a typical white guy from Missouri that sells insurance. No big deal. I mean, loving husband, that sort of thing. And then in the year 2000, did you ever watch the Conan O'Brien show where there's always that bit? In the year 2000.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, we should do a little reset there.
Oh, my God.
In the year 2000.
That was great.
They got a new pastor at that church, and his name was David Love. The Reverend David Love.
That's a good pastor name.
It's a great pastor name. And
I wonder if it was his real name.
Oh, it was his real name.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was married to Kim Love, and they had 3 lovely children. So you got Dave and Kim and Randy and Teresa, and they all went to church together. And you didn't really grow up going to church. You're a complete heathen.
I did not.
But a lot of churches, especially the size, they have elders in there. They have
what was the size again?
About 300 people.
Is that big for a church? Or?
No, it's not big, but it's probably average.
Okay.
I think big is over 1,000 at this point.
All right.
But I think most churches have a couple hundred members, and they sustain themselves on tithes and donations. And usually the people that are very involved in the church that tithe, in my opinion, and again, I don't want to make this episode about condemning religion, but it becomes sort of a country club for people or a social club. I don't want to.
It becomes their community, right?
Yeah, and a lot of churches do great. Yes, it becomes. It's basically you don't golf there, but the people that are giving 10% of their income.
A lot of people's activities
they're socializing
revolve around
there.
it.
Sunday school,
their social circles.
nursery school, which is a glorified form of daycare. So he's given 10%. He's a big part of the church. Okay. He's good with numbers, so he helps the church finances. And
did you say he's an elder?
He was an elder in the church.
What does that mean?
It means that you're, it means different things in different churches.
Do you have some sort of does it mean you have some kind of decision making type? You're on the board.
You go to meetings, yeah.
Gotcha.
My dad was an elder of the church for a while until he got divorced. Then he lost elder status.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
What, they took it away?
Yeah.
What?
Scandalous.
They took the elder status away because he got divorced?
I think he was asked to non-elder after that. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Didn't you say some of the people from the church kind of shunned your mom, too?
Yes, I did.
Oh.
And my dad.
This is why I'm not religious.
Is that why? Because you're afraid of being shunned?
No, because that's just wrong.
Well, I mean, I look at it as the individuals.
I'm sure not every church does that, so let me,
No, I think...
But that's shitty, though.
Well, it is shitty. Well, and again, I mean, and really one of the things that caused him to leave the church here is that, I'm getting ahead of myself here, too. So anyways.
Okay.
Let me get you some background on David and Kim
Love.
They met at a tiny little university that no longer exists in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. It was formed by Lee Robertson.
Wait, and what's in Tennessee?
Yes. Okay. It was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It was a Baptist college in the Deep South called Tennessee Temple. Wow. And it was founded in 1946 by Dr. Lee Robertson, who you've never heard of, and most people here haven't.
No.
Because he was a decent person. And what he did, inadvertently, was he created the first megachurch that would become a model that he would later separate himself from because he was disgusted at what happened.
Oh, interesting. That sounds like a good story in and of itself.
Pat Robertson and Jerry Falwell both took his model and used it to form their own universities and things of that nature. He spent the last 15 years of his life not ministering to the church, but going to different congregations, giving speeches. He sounds like a pretty good guy. When he was there, the university was thriving and had about 4,000 students at any given time. It officially closed in 2013. And none of this is super relevant. I just found it kind of interesting.
Tangent.
Yeah. But Tennessee Temple, that's where he went. And while David Love was there, the church that was founded by Robertson was becoming the first mega church, so to speak. And it had all the style and trappings of the mega church, where it had a very social nature.
Right.
It had grandiose music, it productions,
stadium seating.
This was, I don't think it had nothing like that. It just grew and grew. People were very, it was very open to all denominations. So it was They are involved in the community. The things that make mega church work is they take that social club aspect, they make it a comfortable place to go. I mean, I've been to churches where it's been very fun and festive. I've been to churches where it's been fire and brimstone. And the mega, I get the appeal of the mega church. I mean, I understand why people, anyways. But this was the first real mega church type thing, and he merged it with his university there. Okay. Much like Liberty University, which is that horrible institution that I believe it's Jerry Falwell.
Ew.
Yeah. Ew, you are such a heathen. God bless you.
I am. Yep.
No, nothing wrong with that.
Proud of it.
It's kind of hot. So, anyways, but so here we have this guy. I mean, and again, just picture college kids, in the 80s, early 80s, going to some religious school and learning to be a sincere man of God type of thing. Well, I mean, again, he was very good with the crowds. He was very enigmatic. But he learned that style.
Kind of what makes a mega church too, by the way, is a very charismatic leader.
I think that makes most churches, to be honest.
And that's why megachurch is like... That's why a cult is like a megachurch gone wrong.
We got to get some guests on the show, because I feel like, I mean, this is... I don't want to be like...
No, I'm not bashing. I'm just saying charismatic leader, and then when I think charismatic leader, I think cult.
Well, I don't...
But like, megachurch is like... It's like a... It has that same sort of like drawing people in, but then you don't have them do anything horrible. So it's not a cult. No. They're allowed to leave freely and everything. It's not a cult. But I'm just saying... The charismatic leader draws in a lot of people. You wouldn't be able to get a lot of people to your church and make it mega status if you didn't have charismatic.
And since you are wearing a nasty woman shirt, I don't want to mansplain things to you, but like that's every fucking church. Every church I've been to,
I've been to some churches with some pretty dry,
but they're
pastors or ministers or whatever.
They're driven by the personality, though. If you have a minister or a pastor that people don't like, members leave, the elders get together, they hire a new person. But like big or small, the megachurch thing again, it's different. We should do a whole episode on megachurches. Which is a side one at some point.
Yeah,
but not enough murders yet. Just mostly gay sex.
There's got to be scandals, though. I mean,
there's
the podcast is called "And Other Awkward Situations," so we can't do that. Murder.
It's going to be about closet homosexuals in megachurches, because that
I want some like super scandals.
Just type in "gay pastor megachurch." You're gonna
I feel like that's just probably so common that it's not even really.
So let me break this down a little bit, though.
Okay.
So David Love, he meets the lovely Kimberly Love,
all right,
and they get married. And
so they meet at a Baptist college.
Yep. And he graduates, and he ends up in Missouri in 2000. Now, guess how many places that he lived in before he got there?
Oh, wait. So when did they get married? Did you give me a year?
I don't know what year.
So they went to... okay, I don't know.
He had 15 addresses before he got there, and he had worked in at least 4 churches that I
found. Between
graduation and arriving in Missouri. And he never stayed at one place for a long period of time. And what came up in my investigation and the police investigation, there's financial malfeasance at every church he went to, including the church that he was at prior to coming to the one in Missouri. $30,000 was missing.
So how do they not vet him better?
I mean, again, in the church community, these things happen. People aren't... you can leave. You can get a call in. You can go.
Right.
And David Love found a lot of reasons to leave places.
Yeah, okay.
And he ends up in...
I feel like they'd be calling his references or something.
Well, they might be, but a lot of it has to do with what they think they can do for you. Yeah. And maybe he get out... I mean, I'm not saying he was a con man. I don't think that he necessarily was, but he was involved in what looked like some shady financial dealings at these other churches.
Okay.
Missing money, things like that. And here... The odd thing about the church, and he got there in 2000. Keep that in the year 2000.
Mm-hmm, yep.
Randy became his right-hand man. He was already an elder. He handled the finances, and he and David became friends initially. And he helped the church finances. Randy did.
Okay.
So, and this is where it just gets good. Okay. So, he gets there in 2000, and he has a certain affinity for Teresa, who's very flirty, very vivacious, apparently. And, Kim right away, his wife, is kind of aware of this. And she said at one point that she felt like she wanted to hug Teresa and punch her often in the same minute. Because she felt like she was flirting with her husband. But she's like, well, he's a pastor. And there's a certain obedience that she had to her husband. And a certain, this is the church.
Right.
Certainly, people aren't going to be doing this kind of thing in a church.
Right.
Yeah.
People are really good at making a lot of rationalizations for weird things that they have vibes about, I think.
Oh, yeah. Well, her vibe was right on, because they started sleeping together almost immediately. In fact, their affair started in 2000.
Oh, my God.
The year that he got there.
How does somebody just... I kind of get, it sounds like David Love was already kind of shady, but Teresa, was there any, history of anything before that, or he just completely...
I think she was bored.
He just put a little spell on her.
I mean, I think she was probably bored. I mean, she was married to a former Marine veteran who works in an insurance business and had a very very traditional haircut. I don't know.
They were very vanilla.
Very vanilla. Maybe she wanted a little bit of a... I don't know.
It was a naughty thing. It was exciting. Okay.
Maybe she watched the Thornbirds. Anyway, and again, I like the pictures. I'll put them up, but David Love he's better looking than her husband. He's it looks like a charismatic guy. He's a leader. And I can totally picture. I'd probably get on with Randy just fine. He seems like the kind of guy who's good with numbers. He's a hard worker.
Pictures right now.
You can, and I'd go to Murderpedia, where they have a nice little photo collage. And while you're doing that, I got a bigger thing here.
Okay.
So no, I just said, so the affair starts almost immediately. God. And in these intimate moments, she's telling them stuff about their marriage and why she's upset with Randy.
That's like terrible.
No. It gets, everything I'm telling you, like, I'm building up to it. It gets way worse. So, since David Love is close with Randy, and he knows some of the intimate deals with marriage, he suggests to him that maybe he should come to him for marriage counseling. Him and his wife
in separate. Horrible.
Him and his wife
in separate times. Of course,
in separate sessions.
He's like, let me set up a few sessions for Teresa.
So David is talking to him about his marital problems.
Okay.
And at his sessions, and then Teresa's screwing him during her marital sessions.
Oh my God! I can't find him on Murderpedia.
No.
Okay. Well, it was under. Okay, so here's Teresa, and she's kind of like boringly.
Okay.
She's okay. Okay, Randy and Teresa, she's kind of cute. He's a little bit of a doughy white guy. He's okay.
Hey, it's doughy white guys stick together. We get it done.
You know what? He's not bad. White guy.
No,
she's no prize herself, frankly.
No, he's not bad, and he's smart.
She's not. She's actually she's very dumpy looking.
She seems the kind of person that...
He looks like a nice guy.
She probably gives off a blowjob vibe to guys. Like, I can just picture her talking, and she's, like, probably smiling and doing a lot of touching.
I'm guessing, okay, this is how I'm imagining them right here, right before all this happened.
Yeah.
Like, they look like they're, like, what, in their 30s?
Well, he was 42 when he died, so
okay.
she was basically started the affair when he was 32 years old. A 10-year affair.
Ew, David Love is not good looking. What are you talking about?
Oh, there's some pictures better than others. I don't know. Whatever, fine.
Oh, okay. You know what? Oh my God, who does he remind me of? You know who he looks a little bit like? Oh fuck, who does he look like? An
actor?
Yeah,
the guy from 300?
No, it's not who I was gonna say. God, there's somebody like a comedic actor, but now I can't think of who.
Stephen Colbert?
Kind of, but okay, I'll think of it later.
He kind of looks like Stephen Colbert and Ted Bundy combination.
He does not look like Ted Bundy.
Yeah,
a little bit. He's got the unibrow. His eyes are a little close together.
You got a crush on Ted Bundy a little bit.
What?
I think you have a Ted Bundy
I
crush.
do. Ew, I am not. No, I do not have any kind of hero worship. Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I just
feel. Read that Anne Rule book. He is absolutely terrifying. No, this I see. Actually, you know what? He does a little bit. He's got those kind of straight across unibrow eyebrows, and his eyes are too close together.
Okay, so...
It does look a little bit like Stephen Colbert. Okay.
So anyways, it turns out, guess how often that, when it all panned out, she said that she and David Love were having sex.
Weekly? I don't know.
Daily.
What? How did she even pull that off?
She was super involved in the church. Was going to marriage counsel sessions and bake sales and choir. And she was doing 4 or 5 activities. Okay, you got to put the iPad down.
Okay.
All right, so we can...
Good God. I want to know how often this happens
I just feel
in churches.
Well,
there's just all kinds of scandal going on behind this.
That's a lot of sex, though. I mean, so she's...
too much. God, she has 2 kids and a husband, and she's having sex with this guy every day.
But because she's like doing volunteer things. She's going to extra Bible studies, marriage counseling. So then their sex life's diminishing. So around 2005, 2006...
Oh my God, it went on that long?
It's a 10-year affair.
Oh.
So around 2005, 2006, they're still in marriage counseling off and on. She gets pregnant. But doesn't tell him.
Fuck.
He finds out when she has a miscarriage. And she calls and tells him. And
wait, you mean Randy finds out?
Randy finds out that she had a miscarriage.
Oh my God.
And in his mind, he's thinking...
He's counting like, wait a minute.
I don't think that could have been me. Maybe it could have been, but based on what the doctor said and how far along the baby must have been, he doesn't think that... What are you doing?
Nothing. I'm just looking at something. I just got a text. Sorry, I was checking it.
We're trying to do a fucking show here.
I'm listening. Just making sure it wasn't anything important, and it wasn't. Go ahead.
It's never important.
Okay.
I think I just slapped you in the knee.
God. Abusive.
I am pretty abusive. Sorry, I'm thinking about physical violence right now.
Okay.
No, so she has a miscarriage, and the doctor basically says, well, is this far along? And he starts thinking to himself, well, gee, that doesn't really
add up.
Doesn't really add up. And so they get into this huge fight. And then she says, well, I may be watching a lot of porn, So I think you're just projecting on me because you don't want to touch me anymore. But it was definitely your baby, and he flat out says, "Well, are you having a thing with the pastor?"
Oh.
And she says no, and then she says, "Maybe you need to go back to marriage counseling with him again." So because of your porn addiction or something like that. So
it would have been amazing. Would have been awesome. Would have been awesomely horrible if the pastor had been having an affair with both of them. Wouldn't if they had both been in marriage counseling and he was fucking both of them daily? That would have been
maybe Randy
most amazing story ever, but it was not.
Maybe he did secure the grave. This is where it gets better and better, though. So he's talking to. So now
she's gaslighting him and being like, "No, you're crazy. This is your baby. You have a porn addiction. Turn it around on him."
And he watched porn, whatever. Probably his wife had no interest in having sex with him because she's banging the pastor.
Oh my God.
Every day.
So and he said, "Are you having a thing with the pastor?" So he must have noticed some weird thing between them. Perhaps that she was just spending so much time at church.
Yeah.
I can't believe it went on this long.
Okay. So he's talking to David Love in his marital counseling sessions.
Yeah.
About, I watch porn, I do this. And David Love says, what turns you on? Do you ever watch it with your wife? No. And so then David Love gets the idea, pornography, and starts taking nude pictures of himself and sending them to Teresa. Like, not one, not two, but like 45 were recovered. Like, completely erotic, nude, full-on pictures of himself. He starts making pornography for Teresa, starring himself, based on talking to Randy.
Just like as an extra mind fuck, because her husband is looking at porn, so he starts taking pictures of pornographic pictures of himself.
And saying to her, it's only fair that you get to enjoy some porn too.
Oh, gross. He sounds quite full of himself. But, I mean, I just looked at his picture and I can just imagine the kind of but to
pictures
be fair, he was taking.
He had a lot going on too because Kim was really his wife.
He was a pastor. He's married. He had kids. How is he having time for
his wife was really kind of selfish. I mean, 3 times she got cancer during this period.
Oh my God.
So I mean, always going to radiation therapy and the oncologist and the doctor, and surviving all that. I mean,
what kind of cancer?
Didn't say she's a 3-time breast. I think she had 1 form of breast cancer, but she had 3 different bouts of cancer, and she's still alive right now.
Good.
And so again, but after this little scare in 2006 with the increased scrutiny, and I guess there was outright suspicions, they went all Breaking Bad and got disposable cell phones.
Oh my God.
So they could text each other and call. They had fake phones just to call each other.
Jesus. And but wait a minute. So after the pregnancy scare, that's when he sends her 45 different pictures of himself.
Yes. Because of the porn addiction too.
Oh my God. Yikes. I'm just picturing the pictures, which it's not a.
Those aren't public record.
It's not it's not a sexy idea.
No.
He's not someone you want to. I mean, it makes me think of who's the guy, Anthony, whatever, the guy who sent pictures to, the politician.
Brett Favre. Oh, Anthony Weiner.
Yes, Anthony Weiner. How could I forget that name?
Yeah, you remember the Anthony part.
No, but his pictures, and you're like, ugh, how is that? Did he think that looked? He's not a sexy guy. He's just, ugh. And that's how I feel about this guy. I just can only imagine it must have been gross.
What does Starbucks have? They got croissants and, oh, what is it? It's black. It comes in a cup. It's hot. Ugh. Oh, but I got croissants. Yeah. So, no, oh, where was I? So we get the nude pictures now. Now they have the Breaking Bad cell phones. And Kim apparently, he found around 2008, 2009, she's going to survive cancer. So that's when they started planning. So they've been talking and planning through emails and texts.
Were they kind of hoping she was going to die?
Oh, yeah. They're wedding together, all that kind of stuff. And I think, and this is my own speculation, that David Love, in the back of his mind, thought, well, I got to play the field here. Because he's a complete, you know what? He may not be. We'll talk about whether he's a sociopath or not. There's one thing he did that makes me think maybe he's not a complete sociopath, just 95%.
But kind of a narcissist, at least, right?
Well, everyone's a narcissist. We don't like him, so
no,
I don't know. But
I don't know.
He's a murdering son of a bitch. But yeah, we'll
psychologize him later.
Yeah. So they start planning their wedding together, and
because his wife has cancer, though, right? I mean, they're banking on her dying.
Well, she was cancer free from like 2007 on.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, she had one bout, I think, even like before they were there. Then
okay. Right.
So.
Good God.
But yeah, no, definitely not terminal. Still with us right now. 3 kids, the Loves had, and 2 that Randy had. And again, as an insurance person, he had a huge $800,000 life insurance policy on his life. So around 2009, they started talking about, we really want to be together. What should we do? And they came up with a plan. And the plan was David Love would murder both his wife and her husband. And the reason...
why didn't they just leave their spouses?
Well, it's funny you mention why. Because the Bible. That's why. Because in the Bible...
Oh, my God, Christians. Get your fucking heads out of your asses.
King David, whom he was named after, did kill a spouse or someone's rival so he could marry the person he wanted to do, and God blessed him down the road. And he actually had written correspondence to her because she had some trepidation about murder, saying, it's okay, King David did it, we can do it too.
Guys. What about the Ten Commandments?
Please just go on.
I mean, wait a minute. The Ten Commandments... I don't understand Christianity very well, but that sounds like they're pulling off of one, anecdote and not like the basic tenets of Christianity, one of which I'm pretty sure is don't murder people, right?
It's a big one.
Yeah.
But,
Isn't it number 1?
No.
What's number 1?
Thou shalt no other gods before me, I believe.
Oh. Is it number 2?
No, it's like number 5 or 6.
What?
They're not listed in order of importance.
Oh, they're not?
Okay. No. And honor your parents is the one that comes with a blessing.
Oh.
Okay, so...
God, really? I mean, talk about bending the rules to suit yourself. Give me a break. I mean, you could probably find any number of Bible stories that would justify any kind of bad behavior, and that's exactly what the people who call themselves Christian but aren't really Christian.
King David also,
love to do.
I mean, he also was punished by God too in various ways. But I mean, no, yeah, he had Bathsheba's husband Uriah killed by putting him in the front lines of the battle. He didn't actually murder himself, but he set it up so he would die in battle. Anyways, I mean, the Old Testament's great. Yeah. Everybody should read it. And
that's less terrible than just like breaking into someone's house and murdering them. I mean, that's bad. But it's like, I'm just going to put him in the front lines, and like, if he dies, he dies.
It was kind of Game of Thrones-esque,
that's
where Cersei.
That's not flat out murdering somebody.
Oh, no, he was murdered. I mean, he's basically was not going to come back from that battle.
But I'm going to guess a lot of people didn't, right? So he kind of was able to throw him in the mix.
Yeah, but he was like he was like I mean, basically he was whatever. He arranged for him to be killed in battle.
What part of the Bible is this in? What part of the Bible is this in? The story?
It's in the Old Testament. I can't remember the exact book, but yeah, I can get you a Bible if you want. It might burst into flame in your hands, but we'll...
It's not going to burst into flame. I am a better.
Okay, but I want to try to get this into a tight hour, and
all right.
I'm not even like getting to all the. I'm skipping some parts here. So basically, let's get to the actual murder here, because I'm not going to go into the whole. I mean, there is a very interesting part about the sleuthing and the investigation.
Right,
we'll get to.
Go.
So here's what she does.
Okay.
So she said
they start making plans that he's going to murder both their spouses,
and she sends a text message to him basically saying, "I want him dead. Just do it." And she tells him when he's working late, and gives him the combination to a safe in the insurance office where he keeps his personal gun.
Oh my God.
And when Randy Stone was shot, the forensic report, he was shot with one bullet in the back of his head without a struggle, so he knew the person that shot him and didn't see it coming. So basically, he went there to talk to him, but right before this happened, this gets really interesting. He's pushing all this marital stuff, like we're gonna get married, we're gonna run away together, on her. And that's his thing.
Yeah.
Randy quit the church 3 weeks before he got murdered.
Oh my God.
And said, I'm done. Don't call me. Don't try and convince me over financial malfeasance that he felt that the pastor was committing. The fact that the pastor covered up a crime that his son committed. It was a drunk drive. It wasn't really cover up. He just didn't want people to know about it.
Okay.
And he just, in his gut, he felt that Teresa and the pastor had some kind of either emotional or physical thing going on, and he didn't want her to spend all the time at church. So they stopped in the church, so he wasn't seeing her daily. he took her out of her life. So, but his mom still went to that church. So he goes to his office on March 31st, puts a bullet in his head, leaves and ditches the gun in a fast food dumpster, and the gun was not found. Okay. So, not ever, because, I mean, they didn't find it afterwards.
Wow.
The police, they go there, they find the body, when it's called in, and they do a quick search of the place, and Teresa did work in that office occasionally.
Okay.
And they do a little search, and in her garbage can, torn into little pieces, a note, which was reconstructed, for her birthday, saying, "I love you and I can't wait to be with you." I can't. And it's clearly not from her husband. Torn to 7 little pieces. And so when they bring her into the police station.
God, how stupid of her.
Oh, it gets, yeah. I keep saying it gets better. So she's being interrogated by the police, and a lot of this is on video. And she's not a suspect right now, but they always talk to the spouses first. And so it's like a few days after the murder or the day after the murder, and they mention the note, and she says off the spot, "Oh yeah, someone put it in my windshield like 3 years ago, like some secret admirer, and I just tore it up and left in the garbage can. I kept it for some time, but I just got rid of it a couple days ago."
Oh my God, that's so stupid.
And then the detective leaves, and she's in there by herself, and she goes like this on camera, "I forgot about the note. How stupid."
Oh my God.
Yeah.
People are so fucking that they're not.
But then.
No, people are so stupid.
Also, a month before the murder, this happened too. David Love bought a ring for his wife at a local jeweler's, and she wanted to go and get it refit or resized. It was like a $50 ring. So they go in there, and she says, "Yeah, my husband got this for me." And the jeweler, "Oh yeah, David." And so she said, "Well, we need the receipt to turn it in." She said, "I don't have the receipt, so I'll print the receipt from the sale."
Oh,
gives her the receipt,
fuck.
2 rings on it, her $50 ring, and then a $500 ring, and she recognized the ring from a picture that they had there, and it's one that Teresa had been wearing and showing off for quite a while. So Kim...
Wait, Teresa was wearing it out in public?
He bought 2 rings.
No, I get that, but wasn't Teresa still married at this point? Like, where did her husband think that ring came from?
I don't know. She claimed that she bought it at JCPenney's for $5. Because Kim made a point of asking her where she got that ring the next time she saw her.
So Kim and Randy both knew there was something going on.
So during the interrogation, when they confronted her about the letter, and then it became like a congregation in the police in the interrogation where all the detectives were watching on video. The staff weren't leaving. They had at one point 25 people were watching the interrogation, the monitors, because she completely unraveled, started crying, and threw out David Love within 3 hours and saying that he killed my husband. He told me he killed me. I'll set him up and I'll give him to you.
Oh my God.
So then they have her call him on a recorded line. All right?
Yes.
And Kim answers the phone and says, "What do you want to talk to my husband for? Why do you want to talk to him? And, are you involved in this murder? Is he involved in this murder?" And they bring David Love in, and he says, "I like you guys, but I need a lawyer. I'm not going to talk to you guys without a lawyer." They let him go, and he left town the next day. They knew where he was going. He left the church, resigned. Well, no, not the next day. This is about 3 or 4 weeks later.
Okay.
Because before that, this is about 3 weeks after the murder this happened. The interrogations, at least.
Okay, wait a minute. I have to timeline this a little bit. So the guy's murdered.
March 31st.
Okay, they bring his wife in, probably pretty soon.
But after the funeral.
Oh, okay. After
for the interrogations. Because, I mean...
They're doing an interrogation, so a few days later or a week later, whatever, they
about
bring
a week or two, about 2 weeks later, I'd say. Because they're doing
piecing it together. Okay, so they find that note. They bring her in. Then she says, "I forgot about the note," on the camera. Then they interrogate her. She gives up David Love's name. They try to bring
no
him
evidence,
in.
but there's no gun.
Okay, gotcha.
No gun recovered.
Yep.
And the ballistics of the gun match Rand. I mean, so they
don't
think
really have much on him besides her word.
Right, and they don't have the cell phones because they were throwaway cell phones. They don't have all the emails at this point, which they end up. But they did a 7-month investigation to get all the evidence. But I forgot one of the better parts of the story.
Okay.
David Love gave the eulogy for Randy at his funeral.
Oh my God.
Yep. And
what a piece of shit.
Yep, and we'll put the audio on the website, but I mean, I can...
I think you should play it right now.
I can't play it right now. Maybe I'll edit it in later.
It's very, yeah.
Maybe we'll play it right now.
Well, I mean, oh my God. I mean, how can... Okay, pop psychology aside, that's pretty cold-blooded, if not sociopathic.
It's one of the most amazing things.
To stand up there in front of a crowd and give a heartfelt eulogy for a guy that you just murdered in cold blood.
Can I read the eulogy aloud?
Sure. You don't have a recording of it?
It's like, maybe we can add it. Okay, fine.
I want to hear a clip. I want to hear his voice.
I'm going to read it, and maybe I'll add the clip in later.
Okay, read it in a David Love voice.
Thank you. And Jesus said, because I live, you shall live also. Randy Stone's name was on the sign over his office at the insurance agency. And how many here really know that Teresa was an agent of that place? She was the cement and glue, wasn't she? We come to the Word of God to try to reconcile the difference between man's point of view and that death seems so permanent, and God's point of view that death is precious. The Bible says in Psalm 116:15, precious is, okay, yada, yada, yada.
It sounds like double talk. It doesn't even mean anything.
Yeah, but he's like complimenting Teresa in the speech and saying she's the glue that holds the place together. And then, okay. I came to the city 11 years ago, and in March of 99, I met Randy Stone. Okay, I guess he came in 99, damn it. Randy Stone was still in the reserves in the Army, and he was in the Marines, and he was active in the military, and he would tell me things about military service. Y2K. Anybody can relate to Y2K? Raise your hand. Y2K. Now, Randy was capital Y2K. I mean, Randy, he said, hey, I'm putting MREs in my basement. I got water. So it's like he's kind of implying that this guy's a rube.
Yeah,
I mean, and it goes on. So I don't want to put the whole audio.
I want to hear more.
Okay. Let me see. You can see there's nothing more that we can do for Randy Stone. There's nothing more that we can do for him. He'll never have another thought in his body, or another emotion, another hunger pain. He'll never be able to sign another policy or kiss his wife on this side of glory. The preparation now is all about what he did before last Wednesday to be precious in the sight of the Lord. At death, you got to make a preparation. And then he says to his mom, Clara, I'm glad you didn't have any more Randys, but boy, did you have one. Randy's death is not in vain. Clara is Randy's mom, a longtime member of the church. And again, the church doesn't know that Randy had quit the church at this point. It was only David Love knew that. So his mom's there. You know, the full audio goes on for a while. I don't want to do the whole thing right now, but that to me is just the balls on this guy to do that.
That is balls.
So what happened?
In a good way.
It just, and again, I keep saying it gets better, but I just love here's the wrap up. So he goes and he starts driving trucks in the Carolinas. Kim goes with him to the Carolinas and brings the 3 kids. After Teresa basically, but here's the police debate right now. David Love did nothing to give himself up for murder, didn't say anything, didn't do anything, and they didn't charge him. So they knew where he was, they knew where he was working.
They probably have enough on him, right?
Well, they had enough. Again, this goes back to the whole Trayvon Martin thing, where everyone was freaking out because they didn't charge the guy that killed him right away. Okay. They knew where he was. They knew he wasn't leaving. They had
to wait to gather evidence.
Because there was no trials in this case. When they arrested him, he pled out, and that's a really interesting story too. But they spent 7 months with having Teresa give him emails, information, and so eventually they bring him back up from the Carolinas.
Was Teresa charged at this point?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
So they bring him back from the Carolinas, they charge him and Teresa within a few weeks of each other. So both with with murder, and Teresa, let me get back. Teresa was putting it all on him actually at this point.
Okay, she was just saying he was jealous and.
Yeah, she was. She was saying that he, and again, he looked pretty guilty though too. Like she never told the police about giving him the combination of the safe. That's what did her in eventually, because she basically said he did this on his own. I mean, and
she copped to the affair,
right? And they didn't have the text messages at that point for some reason because they were throwaway phones. They didn't have the technology to subpoena them or something. But she actually confessed it. Well, I want to get to why she confessed at some point because it's pretty fucking amazing. So they bring up Randy and he hires this ball-busting lawyer to represent him, and they offer him, they have all the evidence there and say, we'll offer you second-degree murder, life in prison. You'll be eligible for parole in your 70s, and he was 50 at the time. He says, no, I'm not going to take it. And so the prosecutor tells his lawyer, I got to start doing depositions Monday afternoon. Let me know Monday morning if he's going to take it. This is on a Friday. So she gets a call from Kim, on Saturday saying, come to the jail. He wants to talk to you. And she comes with her investigator and her co-counsel, and David Love says, no, get him out of here. I just don't talk to you. And she's kind of pissed off his lawyer. And he's like, sit down. He's like, put your hands on the table. She's annoyed at him. Why? Put your hands on the table. So she puts her hands on the table. He takes his hands, puts them on top of her, and says, I'm not innocent. I did this. I'm guilty. I deserve to go to prison. I'm taking the deal. Just like that. And he started crying. He's like, I'm a guilty man. I'm wrong. I did it. I shouldn't have done it.
So he took the deal of
full confession.
25 years or whatever.
He's in prison right now. Full confession.
Wow.
He's ministering in prison. They say, but he didn't like try. I mean, he could have. The lawyer to this day says I kind of regret him doing that because I think I could have gotten him off a trial within the trial of my career. Because
so that is what you were thinking.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe he was an sociopath.
Because he was really getting out of prison when you're 75
he had
versus
some kind of attack of conscience there.
And again,
maybe.
Well, regardless, I mean, he's not eligible until he's in his 70s, so it's not like, and he was a fairly
holy shit.
Yeah, again, he did. It saved the agony of a trial and that sort of thing. But now we have Teresa, who was still putting he fessed up and. He basically...
He didn't throw Teresa in with it. He just said...
Oh, he did. No, he told what happened and said, the plan was to take out him first and then my wife second.
Wow.
He was going to strangle his wife and put her in a car and fake a car accident. That was how he was planning on killing her.
A terrible plan.
Well, a lot of these were terrible plans, too. And really, the worst thing was how bad Teresa was.
I love how people always think they're going to fake a car accident with somebody and that it's going to cover up the fact that they were strangled. That happens like a lot. I've read a lot of things where it's like they strangle the person and they like throw them out a window.
This is right around the time that The Sopranos wrapped up, and that's how Christopher died. There was a car accident, and then Tony strangled him in the car. Cut off his ear while he was in the car accident. Which I've always thought. I remember the first. I mean,
that was a little bit different though because he'd already been in an accident. He was incapacitated.
Oh, I know, but I just...
and Tony covered his ear. But to strangle somebody to death and then like put him in a car and like drive it into a tree, I feel like they're going to figure that out.
Feel like he had a lot of bad ideas there, and then again,
real bad choices. But
I mean, the fake cell phones and everything else. So, and the police at this point, they realized everyone wanted to avoid a trial here for some. I mean, they wanted to get Teresa to plead out, but she was kind of hedging because she kept saying, "Well, David did this, David did that." I had no idea he was going to murder my husband.
Oh my god!
So they send in Randy's wife. They send in Randy's mom. Talk to her, wearing a wire.
Okay. Wow.
And she sits down with her, has lunch, and gets her to confess to everything. The mom does, on tape.
What?
Basically Teresa says, I want out of the marriage, and I sent him a text saying he's at the office, I want him dead. And the police never had the text.
She gives that information up to Randy's mom?
Because she felt guilty.
Oh.
Because Randy's mom had defended her.
Randy's mom must have been
well, she still goes to that church.
Hell of a woman, because to be able to hold it together enough to get your daughter-in-law to give that information up without reaching across the table and stabbing her. I mean, seriously.
Well, and again, I think she got off too easy. She got an 8-year sentence.
Oh my God, is she out?
Charged with, not yet. She got sentenced in 2011, but she's getting out soon. And just charged with conspiracy to commit murder. So Kim has remarried with her 3 kids, and they've moved to the Carolinas. And she's said, they're in a good place right now. But, I mean, she stuck with that guy up to the point that he confessed to murder.
Oh, my God.
A guy that was clearly, I mean, like, the whole buying the ring thing. And again,
my God.
So here's the thing. I know it's about how to avoid murder. There's about a million ways to avoid this. But, like, what really gets me in the whole thing is Kim Love. I mean, like, I just, at some point... Just get out of the whole... I mean, she should have gone to Randy. I mean, okay. I feel like...
Yeah, I feel like Kim and Randy could have...
Gotten together.
If I were making this into a movie...
Oh, I forgot the absolute best part of the whole fucking thing.
What?
The best thing. Remember how I said that there was that miscarriage who got suspicious?
Yeah.
In 2006. And there were some financial problems here, and he had an $800,000 policy. Unbeknownst to Teresa, after the miscarriage, he changed her... on the life insurance. She was no longer the beneficiary in case of a death. He made his kids the sole beneficiaries. So she got nothing when he died. And that
didn't know that.
She did not know that. And so
but she knew he had the policy, right?
Yeah.
So that was part of them thinking.
No, they were counting on it. And they had that in writing.
Oh
so
my God.
Randy wasn't a dumb guy. And again, I just don't think...
It's just amazing that... And here's the problem with church guilting people. into not getting divorced.
Well, I think a lot of that was here because this marriage counseling
nonsense. on both ends. So here you had Teresa and David Love. Let's pretend they weren't sociopaths, or they were just really terrible people, but that they did actually want to be together and love each other. They could have, if they hadn't thought it was going against God to get divorced, they could have just left their spouses and gotten married and converse. And then on the other end of it, Randy and Teresa could have just been like, you know what? You are having an affair. I'm out. But everybody stayed because nobody wanted to get a divorce because it went against their religion.
The pastor has a lot of power. I mean, if you're a lonely housewife or a bored housewife in this situation, not to make her just a housewife, but like this is a big deal in a lot of circles. This is your pastor. Is it really wrong if your pastor is sleeping with you?
Oh my God.
I mean, this is the thing I said in your marriage counseling.
So, you know what? God, what terrible people. So poor Randy's going in there and like talking about his private things in his marriage.
If anyone should have killed somebody here, Randy should have killed the pastor.
Yeah, that would have been probably deserved.
Yeah, that's true second-degree murder.
Yeah. My God, poor Randy.
Yeah, and he's dead in his own office, working late. You know, but he had the wherewithal to take your wife off your insurance policy. 4 years before you're murdered.
And that happens and you know what? It's always like, who knows, whatever. But I feel like I've read a lot of cases where they'll say like, yeah, he told us if I don't come back from this, blah, 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 this weekend, don't come back on Monday. It's because my wife killed me or whatever. People kind of have a vibe sometimes. They just ignore it because it's so hard to believe they're not really, this can't really be happening. This can't really be a threat. People don't listen to their instincts.
Surely, and again, this is...
Divorce would have solved so much in this.
And again, I don't want to come off
callous. I'm not saying divorce is great, but sometimes it's better than murder.
You could avoid divorce.
That is how you avoid
murder.
There's
grounds for divorce here.
If you are so miserable in your marriage that you're willing to murder your spouse or have someone murder them, just get a divorce. I promise you, God likes divorce better than murder. I don't know, but that would be my guess.
I'm saying don't go to church. That's how you avoid the whole thing here. Because, I don't know, I think that churches at some point become social clubs and all the good messages that could be in the Bible or whatever religious thing you're pursuing get lost in the social constructs that we create for ourselves.
Let's say this, don't let the social... whatever. What's the word I'm looking for? I had a really good thought, and I can't put it into words. Don't let your good instincts be overridden by whatever kind of social construction you're involved in. If it's your country club or your church or just your family not wanting you to do this. People have got to trust their instincts and not... I don't know.
Well, the thing is, I consider myself... Yeah, whatever.
That's really bad abuse of power, though. Pastor should... he is in a position of power, right?
Oh, big time. And again, I grew up going to church. I still feel somewhat guilty I don't go to church. Right now, that's going to be with me forever. Thank you for that.
And the church made you feel guilty about that, right?
No, it's just in my head. No, really, there's nothing... Again, I'm a lawyer. I can read the Bible literally, and there's nothing there that says you have to go to church. Really,
right,
and again,
there isn't.
I think, objectively speaking, if people strive to be like Christ, it'll be a better place. And if Jesus came back right now, Republicans would hate him. So, helping the poor, turn the other cheek, be meek, be peaceful. These are the kind of things that Christianity is all about. Don't sleep with another man's wife that's a big one too.
It is. Don't murder people also.
Yeah, and again, why is cancer such a turnoff? Why are there so many prominent people that, when their wives get cancer, they're banging other chicks?
Well, it's probably because when people get cancer and going through treatment, they're probably not feeling super sexy, and they're probably tired, and they're feeling sick, and they're feeling anxious, and that person's an attention whore, the spouse, and they get all whiny and babyish because they're not getting the same... Their spouse who's dying of cancer or going through treatment for cancer is, taking up all the attention, not giving enough attention to that person.
I just think...
Not sleeping with them probably because they probably feel miserable.
I just.
I mean, this is a hallmark of a really selfish person.
I'm not trying to like. Oh, I'm a great guy, but like, I don't know how you could cheat on your spouse if they're dying of a disease or they have cancer, and just not feel like a complete piece of shit every day of your life.
You are a complete piece of shit if you cheat on your spouse who has cancer or any other kind of potentially fatal disease.
To be fair, though, if they have cervical cancer and they pay for a prostitute, that's just being a good wife.
Remember that movie? Was it like it had Angela Bassett and
is it How Stella Got Her Groove Back?
Might have been. It was.
I never saw that.
No, it wasn't How Stella Got Her. Fuck. It was like by the same author. But anyways, there was like one part where she meets this guy and she has like an affair with him in a hotel, but he's like, oh, I love my wife, but she's dying of cancer right now, and like that's how he justifies having sex. Like she's too sick to have sex with him, so he's gonna have sex with this anonymous woman in a hotel, but he loves his wife. I was like, fuck you, buddy. You know what, people? Let me just give you a little tip. You don't need sex to survive. So if your spouse, who you're supposed to be loyal to and loving to, is too sick to have sex with you right then, get over yourself and just go jerk off.
Just drop it in when they're sleeping.
You know what, though? No. Put your fucking big boy pants on and get over it. You don't need to have sex to survive.
This is where I disagree. Give them a sleeping pill and just kind of slip it in. Just kind of scroll it in there. Just kind of,
you could get a fleshlight, put it next to them, pretend it's them.
Get a fleshlight, yeah. Yeah, you could definitely do that. Or, just wait till they're asleep. Just kinda...
That's so creepy. He's joking.
Yeah.
But really, the people, I have no sympathy for people who are like, you should, if somebody's too sick to have sex with you, then that does not justify you going off.
Is it weird that I find diseases erotic, though? Like, I think it'd be kind of romantic to make out with somebody that had syphilis.
You're so serious when you're telling the story of the crime, and then as soon as it's over, then
it's stressful. I'm trying to remember all the details.
I know, and you're so jocular when I'm telling it.
I like to listen to it better.
When you're telling it, you're so serious.
Well, the worst one was that Elise Polar one too, which I just felt like so bad for her afterwards too. Like here, I mean, I actually
that was a miserable one.
I feel bad for Randy. That's why I don't want to make fun of church people. I mean, and again, I think I do think these churches do a lot of good. I remember the church that I went to as a kid. My dad would go out and pick up homeless people and do it at soup kitchens and a lot of volunteer work.
I think a lot of churches do a lot of good. I think the problem is because people are using the word church in their title, they can get away with being really fucking terrible and calling themselves a church, and people trust them inherently because they think it's church, and that's a terrible abuse of power.
No, and the best work the churches do are outside the church too. There's somebody I used to work with, and if she's listening, she'll know who she is. I don't probably agree with her on a lot of the political things, but she goes to Haiti all the time, and she's down there, and she's raising up money, going to help people out. And you know what? I can't.
And that's really all awesome. Great. Except, I mean, you don't have to go to church to do that. That's another point.
No, you don't. But I think people.
Here's the thing. There's people who go to church who are really good people, and there's people who go to church who are really bad people, and there's people who don't go to church that are really good people, and there's people who don't go to church who are really bad people. So really, church is kind of not really connected to either one. Some people, it gives them a nice structure in their life, and it kind of keeps them, it inspires them to do good things, and that's great. And some people...
It becomes family, too, at some point, too.
Right, and some people gives them kind of a family, a group that helps them be happy. Whatever makes you happy, makes you a better person, fine. As long as you're not using that as a justification to take happiness or freedoms or life from other people. No.
In short, you can avoid murder by getting divorced or not going to church. And this is an odd conclusion. If you're listening out of context, it's even odder. But I hope I haven't offended anyone. Well, yeah.
You don't really care.
I don't really care. If you know me.
And I would like to add to that, if you think somebody is... that there's even a remote possibility that somebody's going to kill you, rather than just changing the beneficiary on your insurance policy, maybe you should get the hell out of that relationship.
He didn't think she was going to kill him.
He thought she was going to leave him.
He just
it was a life insurance policy.
Right.
I mean, there had
to be
He just
didn't want her to get the money and have it go to David, so he gave it to his kids. I get that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so that's our show, and instead of telling a story at the end of the night, due to some technical difficulties, we are just going to play the end music, and after the music, as a bonus, we have the eulogy that the pastor David Love read. So if you enjoy irony or just a good eulogy, stick around. And Laura, what would you say the lesson was tonight? How do we avoid these terrible things?
Get divorced and don't go to church.
Wise words. Wise words from a wise woman. All right, guys. We love you. Stay safe. And until next time, please avoid getting murdered. We need the ratings. Thank you so much. Thank you once again for listening to How to Avoid Murder and Other Awkward Situations. If you're listening to this, that means you haven't been murdered, and we've done our job. Make sure you check us out on Facebook at How to Avoid Murder or online on the World Wide Web at avoidmurder.com. And until next time, stay safe.
Thank you, friends. You may be seated. We come to the Word of God to try to reconcile the difference between man's point of view that death seems so permanent and God's point of view that death is precious. The Bible says in Psalm 116, verse 15, precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. We sit here today and we weep, not just because of the separation from our loved one, but because of all the questions that death brings. Questions like why? Why him? Why now? Without answers, death seems so cold. Death seems so distant. It seems so long. Death seems so permanent. The Bible says precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. The Lord says it is precious. We say it seems permanent. What's the answer? What can help us at a time like this? 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 14 has the answer. The Bible here says that death is swallowed up in victory. That's a quote from Isaiah chapter 25. And Paul is quoting the great prophet Isaiah over 700 years before the Lord Jesus came as the incarnate Son of God. The prophet Isaiah said that death is swallowed up in victory. And in order for this to be understood by us from God's point of view, that death is precious, we need to see it from God's point of view. How could this be possible, that death is swallowed up in victory? It's through Jesus. Only Jesus. Only Jesus can prove this. How can this death be completely turned to victory? Nothing here looks like victory to me. How can this be turned to victory? First of all, think of anticipation. I'll give you 4 words I hope that you'll take home with you today. I pray the family would be able to take this into their hearts and receive the comfort of the Lord as only he can give. Anticipation. Here in Isaiah 25, it's full of anticipation. There's 12 verses here, Isaiah 25, and it's saying that death is swallowed up in victory. We look to this casket and the body here and all the flowers, the things gathered around, we say, but we anticipated he would grow old. We anticipated that we'd do more things together. What's with the word anticipation and death being swallowed up in victory? How could this be good at all? But Isaiah 25 anticipates something about God. Here in the first 3 verses it says, O Lord, thou art my God. I will exalt thee. I will praise thy name, for thou hast done wonderful things. Thy counsels of old are faithfulness and truth. For thou hast made a city. And it uses a city here to help us understand, a first picture to help us understand the anticipation of death being swallowed up in victory. He said, for thou hast made of a city a heap, of a defense city a ruin, a palace of strangers to be no more city. It shall never be built. Therefore shall the strong people glorify thee. The city of the terrible nation shall fear thee. On down in this passage, it says, lo, this is our God. We've waited for him. This is the Lord. And he's describing his Lord. This city that's built here is talking of Babylon. But anything that defies God, anything built up that defies God, he's saying here in Isaiah 25, in these first 3 verses, you can anticipate if something's built up to defy God, God will judge that. You can anticipate it. God will judge this. God as judge will bring victory for the righteous by destroying that city or that thing that defies God. Verses 4 and 5 here anticipate God as a refuge in a time of storm. It says, thou hast been a strength to the poor, a strength to the needy in his distress, a refuge from the storm. Now picture that. Picture a storm, and God is that safe pavilion. It says a shadow from the heat. When the blast of the terrible ones is as a storm against the wall, thou shalt bring down the noise of strangers as the heat of a dry place, even the heat with the shadow of a cloud. The branch of the terrible ones shall be brought low. And he talks here about how the Lord, our God is this kind of God. You can anticipate that when there's a storm, you can go to him and he'll be your refuge. He's that kind of God. I came to this city 11 years ago, and in March of 1999, I met Randy Stone. Randy Stone was still in reserves in the Army. He was active in the military. And he would tell me things about his military service. He was a patriot, a strong patriot, but he was a veteran. He served in Desert Storm, and that was back in the early 90s. But as we were coming in 1999, what's the next year? 2000. Now, some of you are not old enough maybe to know what I mean when I say Y2K. Anybody can relate to Y2K? Or raise your hand. Y2K. Now, Randy was capital Y, big 2K. I met Randy. He said, hey, I'm putting MREs in my basement. I've got water. He said, now one thing about Randy Stone, I loved it when I was around him, but I usually wanted my wife to be between Randy and me. Because if you'd ever sit by him, boy, he'd bruise your arm, wouldn't he? He's got that thing going. I think he had a twitch. He's all the time. And he didn't think that you were listening to him unless he hit you 2 or 3 times. Sometimes I'd say to Teresa, would you come and sit on this side of him, please? He's about to beat me to death. But he'd say, hey, Pastor, not only am I your hero, but hey, Pastor, you need some water? You need a generator? You know what he was anticipating? Y2K. He said every airplane's going to fall out of the sky at the moment of Y2K. All the money in the bank, you better get your money out of the bank. He was big on that. You know what he was anticipating? A storm. And he was making his refuge. That's what he knew to do. That was Randy. Now, our God is the kind of God, when there's a storm, he says, I'll be your refuge. You can anticipate that. Is this a storm in your life right now, family? Yes, it is. You can anticipate something about God. He is your refuge. The Bible tells us here in this passage I just read that death is like, or this storm, this desert heat is something that God sees. We experience that. And what he says here about this desert heat, he says, I'm the cloud that blocks the rays. Now, Randy served in Desert Storm over liberating Kuwait, over in Iraq area. He knew something about desert heat. Anybody else here serve in Desert Storm or over in Iraq? Anybody else serve in Iraq or over in that part of the world, Afghanistan? Any soldiers here have been over in that part of the world? Don't be shy. We have some. God bless you. Thank you. Randy served there. He knew something about the heat of a desert. And what God says, he's saying, you can anticipate this about me. This is what I'm like. When the heat is bearing down on you, I'll be like that cloud that'll protect those rays from hurting you. That's our kind of God. Isaiah is saying, this is our kind of God. You can anticipate that. Goes on here in this passage, he talks about death or these storms may keep us from anticipating fun. If you knew much about Randy, he loved to have fun. This passage talks about eating, drinking, and being merry in our terminology. Randy loved to eat. He loved to have a good time of partying and loved to be merry, didn't he? Anybody ever heard Randy poke fun at you? Or maybe I should ask it the other way. Anybody here not have Randy make a joke with you? He was fun. Someone from the Kansas City Star asked me, how would you describe him? And I said, well, he poked fun at people. He loved to be happy, loved to have a good time. He said to me when I first came to town, he said, Pastor Love, I'd like to take you to play golf. I said, well, Brother Randy, my next 6 games will be my first half dozen. Now, Randy had to go around the house a time or two to figure out what I just said. He came back and he said, Pastor Love, you tell me you've never played golf. And I said, you got that right. I'm afraid I love it too much. And I never had. So guess what? Randy said, I'm going to be the first one to take you to play golf. So we went over here to Cracker Neck. Right after we got through, the bulldozers came in and tore the whole place down. I didn't know my game was that bad. Where Cracker Neck used to be, right over here where all this industry is. I think the new hockey stadium's right there where I messed up one of my shots. Anyway, that day, Randy said, "All right, Pastor, I'm your golf instructor." And so we had fun that day. He played till he could win. I remember hitting my first shot. John Christensen was there, Del McClung, Randy, and me. That first shot I ever took. I never had watched the Golf Channel, but the night before we were playing golf, I saw something when I found the Golf Channel. My wife showed me where it was. I found it, found out I just needed to be square to the ball. So anyway, I lined up, took my first whack at it, and we were playing best ball, and mine was the one we got to play the next shot on. We were all flabbergasted. But Randy, he thought I lied to him. I never played before. We got on through that game in that round and could hardly wait to play again. So one time, I don't know, Jim Van Arsdale may have been with us. I know an evangelist from Georgia was with us. We're playing out at Teetering Rocks. If you've played there, the ninth hole, you hit over a little pond. Then you go get a cracker and some water in the clubhouse. But I'm lined up. Randy comes over, and that preacher from Georgia, he said, "Hey, use this ball to get over that water with. You don't want to hit one of your good new ball. Hit this ball." So I took a few practice swings. Randy, bless his heart, he's over there laughing. And the evangelist was laughing. Jim, if you were there, I don't remember. I think you had compassion or mercy on me. But I reared back. I'm going to hit over water, So I smacked that ball, and it exploded, and some ribbon came out. Never did forgive you for that one. Boy, they laughed at me, just having fun.